Now we are back in Unreal, and my next step is to import the model we created. So here in the content browser, I'm going to click Add, and then going to Add Quixel Content. This might take a few moments to load for you. Then you will go to the MetaHumans. In MetaHumans, you will have two options: the MetaHuman presets, which are all the original models, and you have My MetaHumans. In the My MetaHumans, you have, in my case, two different models that we created. In this case, I'm going to take Pia. So I select Pia, and instead of Start MHC, which is the creator for MetaHuman, which was the steps that we did before, I want to download this for first for my hard drive and then to import it into my project. You have three different levels of quality. I'm going to take for the moment the medium quality, and then I am going for download. The download process is something that will take a very long time depending on the characteristics of your gear and, of course, the internet connection. So just be patient. It is important to mention that you can also have different models for different sections of your game. Let's say that you are going to have a conversation, a section of the game where you're going to make a conversation between two characters, and one of them is, of course, one NPC. So maybe for that particular occasion, you want a higher quality model of your game. But once you are into the action, maybe you don't need this highest quality. Maybe you can go with just a lower or a medium quality. In the case of the game we are creating, which is in third person, and the camera is not going to be so close to the character, to the face of the character, I'm taking the medium quality. So let's see how this is going to work. Meanwhile, you can see here on the bottom right that we are generating this medium quality model. Once the model is downloaded, you will have this option here. And now I want to add the model to the project of Unreal that we already opened. So I'll just click on the Add button, and now it will start to importing every element related to the design that we did. Once the process finishes, you can go back from bridge to third person map in our case, and I am going to add this new character. So I'm going to get closer to the environment that we have by default. And then in the content browser, you have a new folder which is called MetaHuman. So let's open this, and you have different elements, different folders. Sometimes you have to wait for Unreal to answer to you to create all the elements related to the character that you are adding. And when this happens, just say enable missing, and enable missing. Right now, Unreal is asking me that they need to restart. So let's restart. I am going to save the current model and project, and we'll wait for the restarting of Unreal. Once Unreal started, now you can see your model here, the blueprint of your model. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And you can also get your model as well here. So I'm going to click F, and here you have the character. Sometimes it takes a moment to prepare the shading and prepare the details for your character, but now your character is here. The other thing I want to mention is related to the level of detail. Remember that we mentioned that depending on the distance of the camera, you are going to have a different level of detail of your character. So if we are very close, you have this level of detail, but if we get a bit far away, you see that the hair is removed from the character. And as we go a bit further away, more or less details will be added to the rendering of the character. This is very important because it's going to save a lot of memory from the player. And having a really great experience sometimes is related to how you use the memory of your video game. This information about the level of details will be provided to the developers so they can use it the best way possible for avoiding unnecessary rendering processes. So let's get close to our character. As you can see, here it is. And if you get even more close, you notice probably that there are not so many details as the ones that we added in the original, because we said, I don't want the most high quality design. But this is a very nice level of quality for what we want in our game. So the next part will be how we can make this a character that we can start playing in our project of Unreal. As you already noticed, when we import our new MetaHuman to Unreal, we have this thing about the hair that disappears when the camera is a bit out of the range. This is related to one feature of Unreal called level of detail, or LOD. So if you play with your character, look at the position of the camera. If I get very close to the character, even if I'm staying beside it, I can't see the hair. And we're going to solve this problem. So the first thing is why this is happening. So as I mentioned a moment ago, if we get close, we can see the hair. Now let's go back to the design that we did a moment, just some sessions before. And you remember that we mentioned this part, which is the level of detail. Every model that you do using this MetaHuman creator is going to have 7 different levels of detail. And depending on the level of detail, some things will be rendered or not. For example, level 0 is full render. Level 1 is a bit less of render. Level 2 is, in this moment, you are not rendering the hair. And as that, we mentioned that we can go to even level 7, which is a very bad and ugly rendering. So the first levels, which are level 1 and level 0, are the ones that we are going to use to play and to rendering the hair. So going back to Unreal, we are going to take the character that we created here, and you can find the blueprint. So I'm going to talk just a bit about blueprints because it's not the goal of this course to get into the details about that. So I can browse to asset, and here is my blueprint. And when you have, before opening the blueprint, when you have an item selected here on the outliner, you can see the details of all the things that are related to this character. And one of the things that are related to them are the LOD sync, which is the level of detail synchronization. In the part of the details, you're going to have these LODs, and these variables are defining how you're going to use the different 8 levels of details that we have. As you can see here, we have 8 levels of details. This is what we're saying here. we are forcing LOD minus 1, which is basically that the system will automatically will change the LODs. We want this because we want to give the developers, the programmers, the possibility of using different level of details for a more effective rendering and the best use of memory. If you have a character that is too far away, you don't want to render every detail. So you want to provide the developers, the programmers, the possibility of playing with these levels of details. One option for our case is to say, well, this game has, or this, this MetaHumans has 2 levels of detail. We're going to say that this is 1. And then as you are setting 2 levels of 1 level of detail, by default is going to be just 1. It doesn't matter how far you are, it's going to be the same level of rendering. The other option is to say, well, I'm going to leave it in 8, and I'm going to force this one to 1, which means that the hair is going to have the level of detail. Let me go back to here, the level of detail 1, which is this one. It's a good level of detail. It's not the best level of detail because this will be the best level of detail. So let's go back to Unreal. And you can see, in fact, the level of details in the hair, in the rendering of the hair as you go far away or closer. So let's say that I say the level of detail is 0. As you can see here on the sides of the hair, you see more details of the hair. And if I move it to 1, look at this. Now there are less levels of detail. Now, I don't want to use this method. I want you to present the, I think, right method to do this.